Welcome back to another inspiring episode of Voices of Motivation Conversations that Inspire. I'm your host, Smitha, and it's such a joy to step into the new year with all of you today. So, together, we have been on this beautiful journey of self discovery, resilience, and hope. So, last episode, we reflected on the past and set our resolutions. Today, we dive deeper into what it truly means to embrace a fresh start. But before we get into the conversations, let me set the stage with a story, right? So there was once a young artist named Meera. So she loved painting a lot. But after a major failure at an art exhibition, she packed away her brushes and gave up. But her heart longed to paint again, you know. But fear held her back until one day. So she stumbled upon an old canvas, half finished and half forgotten. So, with the trembling hands, she decided to complete it. So, that's the single moment of courage that changed her life. So, starting anew isn't easy. So, it takes courage, faith, and belief in the possibilities ahead. And who better to guide us on this journey than my dear friend and wisdom sharer, Siona Xavier? So, Siona, welcome back to the episode.
Thank you, Smitha. It's always amazing to share the space with you and our listeners. So, Mira's story really resonates. It's such a powerful reminder that sometimes the hardest step is the first one, but it's also the most transformative. Smitha, what stands out to me in Mira's journey is her choice to listen to that quiet inner voice calling her back to what she loved. That's often where it all begins, a
Yes.
whisper, a tiny spark of inspiration. But acting on it requires more than just acknowledgement. It requires intention, trust, and a willingness to embrace it. So we tend to forget that every great transformation starts with a small decision. It's not the size of the step, but the determination behind it that sets things in motion. So Mira's moment of picking up the brush wasn't just about completing a painting. It was about reclaiming her identity, her passion, and her belief in herself.
Yes, Siona, yes. So let's talk about the fear that often accompanies starting anew. So, why is it that even when we know how fresh start could change our life, but we hesitate so much?
That's a great question, Smita. So, fear is such a universal experience.
Mhm,
It's something we all carry,
mhm,
whether we admit it or not. So, at its core, fear is our mind's way of protecting us from the unknown. But
mhm,
often, this protection becomes a barrier. So, when we think about starting something new, it's not just the uncertainty that scares us, it's the voice of our past failures, the weight of our self doubt, and the stories we have told ourselves about who we are. So, these narratives become so deep that we begin to believe they define us. So, take Mira for example. Her failure at the exhibition wasn't just an event, it
mhm,
became a story in her mind. I'm not good enough. And every time she thought of painting again, that story replayed. The fear of reliving that failure
mhm.
kept her from even trying. But here's the truth, every fresh start is an opportunity to rewrite those stories. It's about shifting our focus from what could go wrong to what could go right. It's about reminding ourselves that failure isn't a destination, it's a stepping stone.
Yes, that's so beautifully said, Siona. But how can someone cultivate this courage? Especially if they have faced repeated failures, like Mira in the story.
So, courage is such an interesting concept, Smita,
Mhm.
because it doesn't come naturally. It's
Yes.
something we cultivate over time. And like a muscle, the more we
Mhm.
use it, the more stronger it becomes.
Yes.
And for someone like Mira, who
Mhm.
faced repeated setbacks, the
Mhm.
first step is to reconnect with her why. Why did she start painting in the first place? What joy did it bring her? When we anchor ourselves in the purpose behind our actions, it
Mm,
becomes easier to push through fear. Another key is to break the journey into manageable pieces. Instead of focusing on the end goal, focus on the next step. For Mira, that meant keeping up the brush for 5 minutes.
yes.
Those small actions build confidence and remind us of our capacity and our capabilities. I also want to emphasize the importance of self talk.
Mm,
Often, the hardest critic we face is ourselves. We need to replace that inner criticism with compassion.
mm,
So imagine if Meera spoke to herself the way she would do to a dear friend. So
mm,
instead of saying, "You failed before, so why try again?" she could say, "You have learned so much from your past. Let's try again, one step at a time." And finally, Smita, surrounding yourself with the right people can make all the difference. When you have a support system that believes in you, it becomes easier to believe in yourself.
yes, that's so practical, Siona. Speaking of taking small steps, so let's introduce our listeners to something special, the new you exercise, Siona. So, would you guide us through this exercise today?
Absolutely, Smita. So, this exercise is one of my favorites because
Mm,
it bridges the gap between who we are and who we
mm,
aspire to be. So,
yes.
let's walk through it step by
Mm,
step.
mm,
So, find a quiet space.
okay.
Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths.
Mm,
Allow yourself to be still and present. Imagine it's the last day of this year and you've achieved everything you set out to. So visualize yourself standing there, confident, fulfilled, and proud. Next, reflect on your qualities. Ask yourself, what qualities did I build on to get here? Was it discipline, courage, patience? Write down these words. They are the building blocks of your transformation. And thirdly, identify one small action. So think about that one small step you can take today to start cultivating these qualities. For example, if courage is on your list, maybe it's having a difficult conversation or saying yes to an opportunity that scares you. Anchor the vision.
mm,
Create a visual reminder of
mm.
your future self. So, this exercise isn't about perfection. So, Smita, it's about progress. It's about aligning your actions with your aspirations and taking one intentional step at a time.
Great. That's such a powerful exercise, Siona. I encourage all of you to try it and share your experiences with us in the comments below. So let's support each other in becoming the best versions of ourselves. So, Siona, as we close this episode, what's one final thought you would like to leave our listeners with as they step into this new year?
So, if I could leave our listeners with one thought, it's
Mm,
this: new beginnings are a gift. They
mm,
remind us that we are not bound by a past or
mm,
limited by our fears.
mm.
Each day is a blank canvas waiting for you to create something beautiful. So, step forward with courage. Trust that even if the path isn't clear, the journey will reveal itself as you take those first steps. And remember, the best way to predict your future is to create it one small action at a time.
Great, beautifully said, Siona. Thank you for your wisdom and for inspiring us to take that first step. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. Here's to new beginnings and the courage to embrace them. See you next time on the Voices of Motivation conversations that inspire. Until then, stay inspired and keep growing. Thank you so much. Have a great day.